Hi there. This is Monica with the Body Electric Supplement. Went on the other day talking about how life has changed. um, and so I'm squeezing it in because, sometimes you just have to. Life comes at you fast and it's awesome when it does. So I wanted to do this the other day, but I was like, oh, way too tired. But as I am growing spiritually and growing and understanding the laws of the universe, and we can kind of go into that maybe a little later, but as I am learning and discovering more and more and more about myself spiritually and the world around me or the realm around me, I started to realize when it comes to manifesting, yes, one of the things I've realized that I'm really good at manifesting. I've already knew that, we all manifest, whether you think so or not. It's how you what you're manifesting. So, and I kind of came to this realization of if we're always manifesting, there are some people getting the things they desire, and there's some people struggling to get the things they desire. Sorry, I had a beverage that is bubbly. Sorry. Yeah, a water. But there are people who struggle with manifesting the things they desire. And this is what I've been teaching as a life coach. Some of the things that are obstacles or blocks, we're going to go over them. So there are three things, and I feel like they're actually one and the same, but I wanted to actually just break them down into three things that prevents you from having your desired life. Three things. First of all, I hope you realize, yes, you are always manifesting. And one of the things that keeps you from manifesting your desired life is paying attention to society norms or societal norms or society's habits. So, for example, if I can use myself as an example, I was going to just use a random one. So, I am a singer songwriter and a teacher, and I enjoy dancing. I do a lot of things, okay? When I was young, I was lucky enough not to live in a suburban or urban area. I grew out in the middle of nowhere with my family. And because of that, again, I think my parents had the foresight to grow some free thinkers, some open minded thinkers, um, because we get influenced. And there's only so much a person can do. We get influenced by things in our society, whether you think so or not, since you were a baby. And this is a lot of the research that I'm about to give you is research I do for my own work as a teacher and as a life coach. So from infancy up until about age 6 or 7, people are learning about the world and how they should or would function in the world. So, especially, let's break it down even further. I don't want to go as far as 7, but from ages 0 to about 5 ish, 3, 4, 5, a person is learning, discovering the world, right? When you see a baby like putting things in their mouth or touching things, they're learning, they're discovering the world. And they are watching and observing what it means to be an adult, a human, those kind of things. So when we teach kids, like, oh, well, only girls wear dresses, or only girls wear the color pink, or only certain kinds of people do certain kinds of things, you're teaching that child limitations. Let's just be honest. It's a limitation. It's a block that will someday potentially block that person when they become an adult. So think of it this way. So back to me as an example. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I still got a lot of programming. So it's not like I didn't, but things like I wanted to be a singer-songwriter when I grew up. I didn't necessarily see any that looked like me in the skin I am in, but that didn't stop me. I went looking for them. And even those who didn't look like me, I was like, well, I'm still going to do it. Um, so society and what it's not just being around people. It's like the TV you watch, the movies you watch, the music you listen to. Again, I can go into my own example growing up. Um, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I, I'm just gonna be honest. I was not a fan of a lot of hip hop and rap at the time. It just didn't feel right to me. I didn't care for the lyrics for talking about women. I couldn't relate, and I just you know, I grew up into being enough of my own person to know, like, I don't want people calling me those names, and I didn't grow up in that kind of world, so I just don't see. Oh goodness, I hope this is still running. I started in music early on, like being able to sing and write songs and things like that. So it started to be important to me to pay attention to how the music industry was. And I would just ask people like, "Ooh, why do you like this song?" You know? And they would tell me things like, "Oh, I just like the beat." And I'm like, "You don't hear those lyrics?" So I don't know. So they weren't effective on me. So I feel like I grew up knowing my worth as a Black woman, knowing that I can do what I want to do and not let people tell me what I should be doing as a Black woman. Because again, this is the 80s and 90s, and I just did not go along with the program, as they say. Literally, I did not. And I am grateful for that. Yeah, there was always people who would try to ridicule me, put me down and say, "Oh, you're a nerd, oh, you're, whatever, you think you're acting white," all of those kinds of things. But I did not let that affect me. So, number one, and that does hold people back, quite honestly, the the environment that you're in, if you let it. And that's the key. If you let it. If you don't let it, then it's not an issue. Now, next thing that holds you back from having the life you desire, and it kind of plays into this. Now, listening to your peers who are exactly like you, especially if they don't see the value in themselves. Okay? I know we have all heard the saying, misery loves company. Yes, that is true. But you don't have to engage in that. And I'm just going to tell you, only, I guess recently, I've really been mindful about that, where I don't want to be around people who just are miserable and complaining a lot, because it doesn't seem like they want change in their life. And I'm just going to tell you now, changing is hard, even if you want it. So, can you imagine what it's like if you're around people who don't even want or recognize change? They might say it with words when they're complaining, but they don't actually really want to change. And that's something that when we go into the spiritual world and we start looking back at our friends and family from the, and you're still in our lives or whatever, but once we start to realize our friends and family can potentially hold us back, but with their own beliefs and their own thinking, that hinders your manifestations. When you go talk to them and ask them for advice, if you know you basically, like, we all know who to go to if we need our doubts um, reinforced, right? We all know who to go to if we're not sure and we're just looking for somebody to just go ahead and tell us no or yes. We know, okay? Don't let people who have been influenced and don't want any kind of change to influence you in your manifestations. So that's why I always try to teach, you know what, don't share everything, because there's always somebody out there that's a bitter Bob or a bitter Betty. I still have friends who are like that, and I don't tell them everything. Like, I remember, again, back to being a singer songwriter, me as an example. Um, I mean, I just went ahead and did it. Like, I didn't ask for permission. I just started writing songs and learning how to play piano and guitar and things like that in the 80s and 90s. Okay. So, had I been telling my classmates at the time what I was doing, I'm sure they were like, "You're trying to act white." And some of them did. I even took classical voice lessons as early as 15 years old because that was a part of my plan when I decided and I figured out that's what I wanted. And I didn't let that hinder me. Yeah, people bring their own insecurities and try to pile it on top of you. Sometimes I hate to say it, sometimes there are people who don't want to see you succeed. They want you right there with them where they are. And that's why I'm saying misery loves company. Okay? So you have to just be careful with who you share your information with, your manifestations with, those, that kind of thing. It's best, I would say, best practice. Most times people want what? Money, love, success. Seek out those people who want those same things and have a healthy outlook on it. So I even talk about relationships, love. There's, we have, again, these people who just complain like, "Oh, the dating pool is so horrible. It's horrible." But are they doing any inner work themselves, on themselves, for themselves? Manifestations are nothing less than what they call the law of attraction. You can only bring near you what you're putting out there, you know? So think of it again this way. We've all met those people out there who are desperate for a relationship, and you can see it in their face, on their skin. They reek of it. And it seems like they're just like, "Oh, wonderful. Oh, you could be my partner." And you're like, "No." And you run away, right? Because you're just like, "Oh gosh." That's how it works, okay? So really be mindful of the company that you keep. If you're looking for love, go look for people who are doing inner work too and building themselves up instead of, I hate to say it, your friends or your girlfriends or your partners out there, your buddies that are saying, "Oh, women are this, they're, and men are whatever." No, stay away from them. Stay away from them if you're serious. If you really want something meaningful, you really have to do work on yourself. Okay? So that's the second thing. Sometimes our people around us influence us. Okay? And like I said, number one is the environment. And then finally, this is the hardest one of all sometimes. When you do get those influences from society, TV, music, television, I said television already, movies, books, telling you this is how the world is. Our own selves. We start being hard on ourselves as young as 5 years old. I've seen it, okay? So we are our own worst critics. That's one of the first things I learned as an aspiring performer. We tell ourselves we can't do it because maybe you're afraid and fear, afraid of rejection, afraid of people judging you, afraid of failing, or even worse, afraid of succeeding. That's the thing too. And that sometimes is the hardest part. Conquering yourself to be yourself. Moving past what you got programmed into to live in this society. If you're watching this video, you're in the society that we're talking about, okay? If you understand the words that I'm speaking, that means you're from an English speaking country, Western world, okay? If you can relate to what I'm saying, you have been programmed into a Western society, okay? And we are in a society that teaches or has taught us that we're not valuable unless we earn it. We've got to fight for it. It's a eat dog world. We have to compete to win, to get the prize, to get the thing. And that's not true. That's been the biggest lie that I've recently uncovered for myself. But battling, I don't want to say battling, reframing yourself is the challenge in your manifestations. You ask yourself, if you want $1 million, why do you want the $1 million? So I can be secure and I don't have to worry about my bills, right? Then why do you want to be secure and not worry about your bills? So I can, spend more time with my family. Why do you want to spend more time with your family? I love them, okay? If it's based out of love, push away the fear. The opposite of love isn't hate, y'all. It's fear. Fear is a big motivator to prevent you from manifesting. But what you need is open love. Open love, as in the universe is providing me with these things. All I have to do is reach out for it. Then it comes to the laws of the universe, the Hermetic principles. A lot of people who go into laws of attraction don't realize they may have watched the Secret or read the book. Maybe they've hitched their wagon onto somebody on YouTube who has been talking about law of attraction a lot. But then you got to ask yourself, do you or the other person who you're watching and paying attention to, do they understand the laws of the universe? Because now that you know, you can have anything you want. You really can. You just need to make sure you know the laws of the universe. And there's when I say law, it means that this is how it all got set up. And then the programming. So this is before the programming, laws of the universe, universal laws. I can go over them, but I think I would want to wait for a different video to do that in. Okay? But once you start to realize there's an ebb and flow, like polarity, to how what we're in works, then you can definitely start playing around with being a great manifester. Because, I'm a good manifester. We are all good manifestors. You just need to point what it is that you're desiring in the right direction and not let the blocks get in your way. Okay? So hopefully you found this video beneficial. If so, hit like. Okay? Helps the algorithms, and you can subscribe, share with a friend, put down in the comments what is it that's holding you back from your manifestations. You got to start being honest about that, and that's what being conscious is about. It's like, what's keeping you from that $1 million? What's keeping you from that relationship that you want? You really have to start going in and digging deep. Okay? And with that, peace out. Take care. Bye.